Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 career mode, episode number 102 today for the Chinese Grand Prix in Season 6. And before we get into it, I just want to say how difficult this is going to be to keep on saying 100 and something. It's just quite a mouthful compared to 90-something or, episode number 5 or 20 or any of the less than 3-digit numbers. It's now going to get infinitely just more of a mouthful to say 102, 103. I'm guessing I'm going to have to get used to it though, because it's only going to go up and up and up until we reach things like 150 or 165, or I don't want to contemplate getting that high yet. But anyway, let's get into this episode for the Chinese Grand Prix in this brand new season. If you did miss the first episode, round number 1 of this season, uploaded yesterday, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one at the Australian Grand Prix. It was a very difficult first race with the Mercedes team, so definitely go check that out if you haven't yet, because it kind of sets up what this season might be kind of like. With I'm quickly realizing this Mercedes car really is a dog to drive. It actually, I've very easily comprehended why Mercedes slipped to 5th in the Constructors last season, and why they haven't been on the top step very much since Season 3, pretty much. I don't know what on earth they've been doing, but the car actually just drives like crap. It's actually almost during practice on the medium tires especially, it almost felt worse from memory. Obviously, I'm going back on memory a couple of months, but it almost felt worse than the Toro Rosso I drove in Season 1, which is saying a lot, because obviously every car, including this one, has developed so much faster than what we started off with Season 1. You can just tell that by the lap times and just the way you can take corners sometimes compared to what they were in Season 1. But in terms of the feeling, it feels so much worse than any of the cars I've driven so far in the career mode, which is very, very odd. And actually, something you may have seen in the intro actually is there was a little bit of upgrading already done for some of the other teams. Red Bull Racing now, on paper, are the fastest team now in this career mode. Ferrari are now second on paper on the little drop-down list. I keep saying on paper though, because I've always maintained, and I still maintain, that list that you see in the R&D chart, I don't think it actually means anything, to be honest. I think the AI play a large part, and I also don't think the chart is very accurate in scale to how many upgrades the teams have done, because I just don't think it really factors in how much a drag reduction upgrade really does in terms of, when you're in a race situation with slipstream, that becomes so much more powerful than it ever can do on paper, when you just install it on the car. But anyway, we moved into qualifying, as I've been talking about all that, and Q1 obviously, thankfully, is not an issue for us in the Mercedes team, although Q2 was a little bit more interesting. We actually went out and did one lap initially on the same set of tyres that I did the Q1 run in, and then I did a second lap on fresher tyres. Basically there, it allows us to kind of protect one more set of tyres, potentially either for a second Q3 run, which in the end I didn't actually use, but that will just mean we have a fresh set of super softs for the race there, so I don't need to use a scrub set. I'm not too sure if we'll end up even using that new set of super softs, but it's there if we need it. Speaking of Q3 then, here we are in the second sector and trying to use the Mercedes as best we can to its advantage, although I say advantage, this is kind of the sector, honestly, where it was just feeling a little bit floaty, didn't feel as planted as I kind of wanted, wasn't expecting, and I don't know, I can't really tell. Maybe I need to go back and watch my own videos back from the Force India career, just literally last season, maybe kind of compare, but it just always felt just worse for some reason. I don't know if it's a psychological thing, I really just don't know, but it's something that I'm going to have to try and get used to rapidly in this season, and why I think this is going to be quite an interesting season in terms of trying to get used to what I think is a pretty crap car. But we move into Q3, we're at the end of it, I should say, in the top 10, and we've only qualified down in P8, again being out-qualified by Lewis Hamilton. So I'm kind of liking that, though, that we've actually got a bit of a challenge here with Lewis, for the first time, really. It seems like our teammate is giving us a real run for our money, quite comfortably indeed. But you can see a Red Bull Racing lockout again on the front row. I don't think Ricciardo will be getting another penalty for a second time in a row this race, so that's going to be interesting to see if the Red Bulls can actually take this home. Of course, Sebastian Vettel did the job last time out, but I would imagine Renault and Force India may be coming back in this race. They got quite unlucky last round, and I still think they're carrying over the speed they had from last season. But from P8, we've got some work to do here. Myself and Lewis as well, because Lewis is only up in P6 then, so both of us have some work to do. But this is going to be the real trial by fire test here at the Chinese Grand Prix. It looks to be an all-dry race, so this will really be the test of how good this car is and how much work we're going to have to do now on it for the rest of the season. So let's get into the full grid and then we'll get into it.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. It was a good showing from Red Bull in qualifying, and Daniel Ricciardo starts from pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Perez, Nico Hülkenberg, and Hamilton, Raikkonen, and the Mercedes, Ocon, and Jolyon Palmer, Massa, Grosjean, Daniel Kvyat, and Magnussen, Stroll, Van Dorn, Pascal Wehrlein, and Marcus Ericsson, Alonso, and Carlos Sainz starts from the back of the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So no grid penalty to talk about this episode, so we are going to stay put in that P8, and then looking ahead to the strategy, as I mentioned, thankfully it is going to be all dry, so this will really be a proper test here. So we're going to go for the two-stop, 2 sets of super softs and a soft tyre for now. We'll see if that changes. Maybe we'd make a last-ditch change to, like, maybe even a cheeky one-stop. We'll have to really see where we are, what position we're in, but filling up on plenty of fuel, 2 laps extra worth, actually, to really try and wring the neck out of this Mercedes engine down that back straight, because I think we're going to lack some speed then in Sector 2. But here we go then to 5 red lights for the Chinese Grand Prix in Season 6. 5 lights are out and we're underway. It's a pretty mediocre start actually. It looks like myself and Lewis have both kind of bogged down a little bit in the second phase of the getaway, whereas Raikkonen made a great start. He's down the inside trying to go in the middle of Hamilton and Hülkenberg. Meanwhile, we try and squeeze out Esteban Ocon and are trying to feed our way through the right-hander, but just being met by a roadblock basically of our teammate there, trying to go around the outside of Kimi, and Kimi's made some contact there and he goes a little bit wayward. Hülkenberg's just managed to get ahead of Lewis, and we're getting boxed in here completely, literally down the inside though. We'll go to the next corner, the end of Sector 1. A little bit of contact made there with Hülkenberg, but I'm trying to break as late as I can to get past Hamilton, and we're up into now P6. So good start for us, kind of all things considered, and now we'll try and chase after Nico Hülkenberg. Meanwhile though, up ahead looks like it's all stayed put for the 2 Red Bull cars who are lead 1-2. Vettel in 3rd place, although Sergio Perez down the inside for turn 1, and that's going to be a little bit close between the Mexican and the German, and Vettel's round. Oh, he spun around completely in the same place he did last season, I think, and we just about missed any contact made, but I'm pretty sure he did the exact same thing last season. Not in the same fashion in terms of some contact made with Perez, but I feel like he did the exact same thing, dropped it under the acceleration as he went through the second part of that long right-hander and spins it. Thankfully, we get out of the way, but let's look at a replay now and see if there was any contact made. If not, this may be literally a carbon copy of what Vettel did last season, which would kind of bring into question what on earth his AI is coded to do. There you go. I don't think there was any contact made. He just decked it under the throttle, really. He's gone a bit too wide. Maybe got on the little kind of on the off grip side of the track, and I would say marbles are involved, but it's the start of the race, so theoretically there shouldn't be any marbles there for now. So yeah, very odd one for Sebastian Vettel. But meanwhile, we move on to lap 2 now at the end into the hairpin, and we're doing some defensive work on Hamilton there. You can see Raikkonen also darting around in the background there, and those two might have a bit of a tussle as we kind of slow down Hamilton. Unfortunately, as we're trying our best to now basically get away from him and try and chase down Hülkenberg, but Perez sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix, so the Force Indy car, at least in the hands of him, is going very well. I want to point that out, that Ocon was way down in terms of pace compared to Perez in qualifying, and so far in this race, you've got to say, he's nowhere near, as we now make a cheeky little move down the inside of Nico, our former teammate from the Renault car, around the outside for the next left-hander. A little bit of a lock up there, but we'll try and feed this round, and that's going to be a very cheeky pass if we can make this work. We're going to have to work for it, though, on the exit of that corner as we go to the end of Sector 1, go back onto the racing line. We'll just about nip ahead, and we've caught Nico there napping into turn 1, basically, so that was a very odd move to make, but I'll take it, and we're up into P4. But as I was saying before, I was kind of interrupted by my own overtake there. Ocon in this race so far is nowhere, so really a big difference between the Force India AI drivers, and you can see how maybe, me taking Ocon's place last season really did help the team very much so, because Perez's AI is doing very well indeed and still battling for a podium here. So anyway, we move on to lap 5, and Kimi Raikkonen has gone down our inside. We made a mistake there, to be fair to us. Just got it a bit too heated into the hairpin, went a bit too deep, tried to go as late as I could on the brakes, didn't work out for us, so Kimi's got it past, and we've only just about managed to keep ahead of Hamilton. Did a little bit of argy-bargy there into the final corner, so not gonna lie, got a little bit frosty. You can see the tyres starting to go off a little bit, so I think it's going to be time soon enough to come in for a pit stop, probably probably in the next lap or two, we move on to that same lap later on down the main straight on the back end, and we're just about staying ahead of Hamilton. Actually surprised with DRS that Hamilton was unable to close up on us, so just showing maybe the characteristics of the Mercedes car being a little bit bad in dirty air. So we'll continue on for one more lap then, and oh, what the, Hamilton's hit us. Hamilton's hit us. He's coming to the pit lane, but he's hit us off. We're off. We've gone for a half spin, and we've just about able to keep it out of the gravel. But what on earth went on there? Hamilton just completely hit us as he come into the pit lane. What? Hello? It was already getting a little bit frosty the lap before when we made contact with him into the final corner, but now Hamilton has just made things a little bit personal there. I don't know what on earth he was doing. Let's look at a replay here. He's just taken us out. He's just driven into us, and he's not even tried to brake to, you know, he's coming to the pit lane, obviously, but you would assume if you've got a car this close to you in front, you would realise that he's going to be braking for the final corner. And so, at this point, he's gone to the inside there, and then he's just accelerated into us. I mean, let alone just the acceleration, but he's also taken a very weird racing line. At this point, I'm braking. Yes, I've gone a little bit wide here on the curbing, but I'm braking there at the normal point where you do brake for the final corner, so I've not broken early. But here's Hamilton, and at this point, he should be braking a little bit, but no, he accelerates. And at this very point, this is where he should really be putting on the brakes. Look at his racing line as well. He's taken a very odd inside line, and then he just slams into us. It's one of the stranger crashes I've had with a teammate on this game so far. So we're going to have to review that at Mercedes. I don't know what on earth was going on there, but yeah, going to have some choice words with Toto Wolff and Hamilton later in the paddock. But Sergio Perez now has overtaken us already, having already made his pit stop. And that is how you do it, Lewis. That's how you enter the pit lane with a car right in front of you. You take the right-hand side line, and you go as wide as you can, and you don't accelerate straight into them. Thank you very much. But we come into pit lane then for our pit stop eventually. But we've lost a lot of time then, even though we didn't hit the gravel or lose any kind of major part of our car, apart from I think there was some damage on the rear end, which I don't know. I don't think this game really simulates any damage to the rear end in terms of cosmetic to actual physical damage on the rear end, unfortunately. But definitely I think our rear wing's going to be looking a little bit skinnier than usual. But we definitely lost a lot of time with that half spin. So we're going to be down the order now. There goes Hamilton. Hamilton obviously lost a bit of time as well. I'm assuming he probably made a pit stop. I mean, it made a front wing change in the pit stop for the damage he got from hitting me. Maybe not, but both of us down the order a little bit now as we pass Marcus Ericsson there, who's parked up in Sector 1 at the exit on the grass there on the left-hand side you would have seen. So we've now got one less runner in this race, but we're going to have to try and get back into this race, myself and Hamilton. And so here we go. We're actually catching up to Hamilton now as we move on to lap 10. So this is going to get a little bit interesting now. So we're going to close up to the man who literally just hit us off 2 laps later and into turn 1. See, I could have made a dive to the inside there if I was being really spiteful and really wanted to push my luck here. And again, getting so close to his rear end there, but you know, I think bigger picture, don't want to really tussle with him too much. It's clear that he probably has the pace over us overall around the lap, so I don't want to kind of make a fuss about it. And so we'll kind of use him, and maybe a little bit of teamwork's needed here to get through these kind of, well, I wouldn't say lapped cars or traffic, but you know, just cars that are out of sync in the Grand Prix. Hulkenberg's not one of them, but there are definitely a load of cars coming up after Hulkenberg that are all on medium tyres or on soft tyres that have been on those tyres from the start of the Grand Prix. So if you get what I mean, they're out of sync in terms of the strategy they're doing today. But here we go, Hamilton around the outside of Hulkenberg, so we kind of break a little bit late as we can to try and maybe feed it round. Doesn't work out, but we're kind of going to be patient here, and maybe we can nip it down the inside of Hulkenberg to make close into the final corner, sliding through on the exit, then going opposite lock, and a little bit of unintentional contact made there with Nico, but it's all good, and we're up into P10 then, and Hamilton up into P9. So there's that teamwork I was talking about. But then as we move on to lap 15, Hulkenberg is going to try and send it around the outside. We go defensive to the inside then, as we would do in the hairpin, and we go a little bit wide, open up the steering wheel on the exit to defend from Hulkenberg for now, and we're going to keep P6. But Hamilton into the pit lane then on lap 15, so we're going to come in probably on the very next lap then, and our engineers asked us to go onto a set of soft tyres. So you would have seen or remembered from the start of this race, the strategy was going to be super soft, and then soft, we're not doing that anymore. We're going on to 2 sets of soft tyres, so a bit of a change there, but I feel necessary because the tyre wear was quite harsh in the super soft tyre. So I think already I'm almost having like a little shopping list of R&D programs I need to be doing or I need to be purchasing, and I think one of them is going to be the tyre wear, because it looks like the Mercedes cars are definitely feeling the bite into the rubber, as it were. I don't know if that's really a phrase that works, but there you go, I've gone with it. But we've seen many times in the past, in previous seasons in this career mode, the Mercedes cars definitely have kind of suffered with tyre wear issues. They've definitely made extra pit stops when they just haven't needed to, when they're leading the Grand Prix or in great position. So I think that's definitely this race is reaffirming the fact that I don't think they've done very much. I think they've only done 2 upgrades on tyre wear, so I think that's going to be a place I need to look at. But anyways, we move on to lap 17, quite easily past Fernando Alonso then in the McLaren Honda. Obviously the Honda powered McLaren still lacking any sort of pace in season 6. They've really, the AI teams are very bad at doing upgrades, really. You've seen the only teams that have really made strides in this career mode have been all the teams I've previously driven for: Renault, Red Bull, and now Force India from last season. So now we move on to lap 18, closing up to Nico Hülkenberg then, and unable to make a pass into turn 1 once again, just like with Hamilton, just unable to kind of find any kind of way to nip past him down the inside, unlike what we did in stint 1 when he went wide in turn 1. And by the time we move on to lap 20, Hülkenberg actually just really powers away from us, and he's already made a move on Danke Fiat in the Toro Rosso, and he's now trying to make a move maybe on the Williams car next, although I should say he's still making that pass on the Toro Rosso car. Only now has he gotten past and squeezed past, but now we'll try and close up to the Russian there. But this is what I meant by all these cars out of sync. The Fiat, Stroll, a few other cars up ahead, I think, of Magnussen perhaps, all on medium tyres at this stage of the race, so they're really out of sync of the running order of what us top teams are doing. So here we go, closing up to the Russian there. Rich Mix going DRS, going to be open anytime soon, and we'll just easily get past. Even with him with DRS open, you can see the power of the Mercedes versus the Renault in the back of that Toro Rosso car, and we're up the order up into P12. We'll close right up to Lance Stroll on the hairpin, and we should be able to make a move. Actually, we'll try and just be a bit patient, set this move up onto the very next straight, onto the pit straight as we move on to lap 21. So nice and easy through the final corner. A little bit of a correction on the exit then, but we now move to the right hand side, DRS open, and it's going to be a pretty decent pass, and we're up into P11 now, so just out of the points. So you can see it's not going to be an amazing finish, really, honestly, for myself. We've got to consider though that half spin probably lost us a good 10 seconds at least. So it's going to be pretty good if we can just get into some decent points. We moved on to lap 21. Carlos Sainz just been overtaken by Hülkenberg, and we make a really big dive to the outside there. You can see Hülkenberg holding himself and Carlos up there, and very opportunistic move to kind of really see quite ahead of us, because that move was being done way ahead of time, so I really had to squint my eyes. And then Hülkenberg loses it into the final corner, lock up there on the left front tyre, and we're able to just break a little bit earlier, get a tighter line to the apex, and then just cut onto this inside line basically, and get that, and almost like an undercut move there made. And so we're past Hülkenberg. A little bit of a cheeky pass, but it's not going to be for too long though, because we move later into the race and through that double left-hander where we're pretty much been poor the entire game since the game came out versus the AI there, through that double left-hander, and Hülkenberg just nipped down the inside there. We break a little bit earlier, trying to maybe get the DRS line. We are going to get DRS, but then through the right-hander, getting hit with a wash of dirty air, and you can see how much time we've just lost through the exit of that corner alone, and it's not going to be any use. I can't even catch up to him down the straight. As we move on to lap 23, Hülkenberg really starts to waltz away from us. We've got yellow flags up ahead, so we may gain one free position here. So there's a car off. It's going to be DRS disabled, virtual safety car I think that is, and Hamilton is out this Grand Prix. So that, you know what, that's karma. That's karma, Lewis. You hit us off. I think that's karma. I mean, it's not maybe the equal amount of karma because you're out this race now and out of the points, but that's karma, I think, I feel. And Hamilton retires out of the Chinese Grand Prix with, I'm going to guess, a mechanical failure because we saw no smoke there on the right-hand side. And there you go, just parks up on the grass there, and that is him out. So is that maybe, unfortunately, though, I don't want to speak too soon and kind of speak too kind of chirpish about that, because is that the start of now the Mercedes cracks starting to come already? Because we've seen that plenty. That scene is not unfamiliar to us in this career mode. We've seen so many Mercedes cars of Hamilton and Bottas in the first 5 seasons do that too many times now, just retiring left and right. Obviously, it's a lot harder and basically never happens to the player, but I don't want that to be happening to Hamilton every time. Yes, I'm kind of happy in a way right now because, I was a little bit peeved off that he hit us off previously in the Grand Prix, but if that keeps on happening, it's going to be very hard to come back at anyone in the Constructors' fight. But anyway, we made the move on Magnussen, and we're going to round out the race in P8 there. So all in all, I'm a little bit disappointed, but I can't be too disheartened because, well, P8 was around where Mercedes were finishing in this end of last season, and also, again, if you factor in that spin, I reckon we could have been around P6, P5, but it was very clear today, the two Red Bull cars and the Force India of Sergio Perez in a class of their own. Unfortunate we couldn't keep ahead of Hülkenberg, and obviously once he got past us, he kind of waltzed away from us, and really Renault have been underperforming, you got to say, compared to where Nico Hülkenberg was, fighting us for the championship at the very end of Season 5. So, all in all, can't be too disheartened, and as I said, basically, I've got a shopping list of what we need to do. We need to do tire wear upgrades. I think there needs to be a lot to work on the chassis weight reduction, and even actually something that I've really ignored so far throughout this entire game, but chassis weight redistribution. I think that may be a very big thing for us to do, because it seems like it's not really a fact of the car's not light enough in the corner. I feel like the car's just really unbalanced, so I think the redistribution may work wonders for the Mercedes car, actually. If we redistribute the weight so it's a little bit more balanced in the corners, I feel like that could be the way to go, because that definitely was the case in Sector 2 all race long. The car would just kind of pitch and yaw and kind of move about under kind of acceleration, or just kind of as I was letting the car roll through the S section. So I think that may be a case of where we look at. There were suggestions from some of you guys that you want to maybe see how fast we can make this car in a straight line on engine upgrades. I'm going to say, let's wait for that. I think I need to sort out the car feeling like a donkey in the corners first. Then maybe we can kind of see and have a bit of fun with how fast we can make this car in a straight line. But I think we need to sort out the car in the corners. But there you go. Eventually, though, Force India coming back into this now. Red Bull still lead the way. Ferrari overperforming, I would say, at the moment, because Force India and Renault still haven't had a perfect weekend like they were getting at the end of Season 5. So, and you can see glimpses with Perez and Hülkenberg's pace after he overtook us of how good those cars are. But for now, Ferrari kind of still holding on to a good second place. But you can see we're not doing ourselves any favours in terms of contracts there. A lot of people not impressed with our performance today, although we did beat our teammate, albeit with a virtual safety car, and him out the Grand Prix. But now, to end out the episode then, guys, before we go on, looking at where we're going to upgrade our first part to the car. A bit of a debate, really, in my own head. I was kind of looking around the aerodynamics, the chassis side of things. In the end, though, I went for the tyre wear, because that seemed like the biggest issue today. The super softs went off way too quickly, and, having to go to 2 sets of soft tyres compared to the default strategy, which was 2 sets of super softs, I think that's going to be useful. Also, we got to remember, at the moment, I don't have any core competencies, so these upgrades, even the minor ones, are going to take 2 weeks. So if it wasn't going to take 2 weeks, I probably would have gone for, a weight reduction or weight distribution, but because it's going to take 2 weeks either way for next episode, we're not going to have an upgrade, so I may as well wait and do the long-term plan of the tyre wear there, because races like the Spanish Grand Prix coming up after Russia when the upgrade comes in is going to be very, very useful indeed. And actually, again, to just bring home the point of the engine, you can see we're not too far off Ferrari, Red Bull and Force India on engine, so there's really no need to do that. Whereas you can see on the chassis side, we are very, very much way down the order in terms of the gap to Red Bull and Ferrari. Even Force India is very large indeed, so I think we need to do a lot of work on that. But anyway, guys, if you have enjoyed the episode, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then you can subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been Aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.